Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called I Know It. In my home country, living abroad now, the gas station has people who will tank for you. It's not optional. These people are paid to put fuel in your tank. That's it. I was one of them during my college years. The fuel we had at the station was unleaded petrol, 95, 98 and 100. And diesel. One day a regular customer came over. He was a taxi driver. I had seen him before, both with his taxi car, a Mercedes, and his private car, an Audi. The Mercedes was a diesel car and the Audi was petrol. Keep in mind, back then, every taxi in the country was running on diesel. That day he came in the taxi. I've noticed he was a bit out of it, but didn't comment on it. I asked how much he wants in the tank. He said, full, unleaded 100. I looked at him strangely. You mean diesel? No, I mean unleaded 100. But sir, you have to... I didn't get the chance to point out he was driving his taxi. He goes, young girl, please. I know what fuel my car needs. I looked at him one more time. I was getting set off at that point. Okay sir, full tank unleaded, 100. Is that correct? Yes, thank you. Right away. And I proceed to put unleaded 100 in his diesel car. He paid and left. 2 days later, he comes again on my shift with his Audi this time. I go out to greet him, trying not to laugh at his face. What it's gonna be today, sir? Diesel? I asked, trying to bite my tongue. He eyed me carefully. Unleaded 100, please. Full tank. Are you sure? I asked, and he side-checked his car. Yes, thank you. Right away, sir. I fill his tank, and as he was paying, he adds, next time I would appreciate it if you tell me I was being an idiot and put in the correct gas in the tank. He was serious, but I could see the humor in his eyes. Was the damage that much? I asked. He groaned. You have no idea. Have a good day. And he left. I never found out what was the cost of the damage, but for my duration at that gas station, when I was the one loading his car, he always would go like, full tank please, without saying what kind. The next story is called Call the Cops. Many summers ago, I worked the front desk at a regional headquarters of a multinational corporation. For a visitor to be granted entrance, they had to prove that they have an appointment and they are who they claim to be. Now, the first part was easy. No need to show us your email, just give us a name and we call that person to confirm. The second required some sort of ID though, driver's license, employee badge, something like that. Or your inviter would have to meet you out here and confirm to us in writing. Note that we didn't keep your document. We just needed to put down your name and take a real quick glance at your face and photo. Most of our visitors had no problem with the protocol. Some would voice their frustration, but still comply. Well, not this special guy. He got aggressive and demanded an explanation about the need for an ID when he was standing right here. Couldn't seem to grasp it. However, we tried and he got increasingly louder. He didn't want his inviter to meet him outside because this is wrong. Security was ready to see him out when he screamed at us to call the cops, because we needed to be arrested and taught a lesson on civil rights. Calls were made, cops came quickly, and he went out in cuffs. Turned out they already had a warrant, just weren't in a hurry to get him. The icing on the cake was that he was here for a job interview. The last story is called Want the Job. I work in IT in a very small area, where everybody knows each other in one way or another, so networking with people is very important. I got a new job in a private school, partly because I knew the consultant acting as a hiring manager at the time, but also because he knew I had skills in Azure and its many cloud components, which was the direction he envisioned the school going. Great stuff, I can do the migration no problem, as I've gone through it twice at previous companies. I started just before the summer holidays, which were 9 weeks at the school, so I spent a bit of time getting to grips with the equipment, network and just generally settling in. It was a small team of myself, 2 desktop guys, 1 part-time and a consultant/manager who worked 3 part days. usually about 10 AM to 2 to 3 PM. After about 3 months, the school hired a permanent manager and dropped a consultant after he had handed over all of his responsibilities. Things continued as normal. I worked away on getting the prerequisites in place while juggling some other projects like managed printing and network upgrades. Everything seemed great, although I was being pulled away from my cloud tasks more than I'd like, but figured it was just how things were here with such a small team. Jump forward to December. My 6-month probation was due, so I asked the manager, let's call her D, when we could have a meeting to discuss how things have been and sign off on my probation. She kept putting it off with generic excuses, and it ended up happening in mid-January, where she absolutely destroyed me. Instead of talking to me like a reasonable human being, she held up all the microaggressions and spent over 30 minutes unloading them onto me, absolutely crushing my motivation. She also said she doesn't believe the cloud is the right way to go, and that I needed to be better at on-premise infrastructure and networking. I had specifically said during my interviews that networking is my weakest area and that I specialize in cloud computing. So essentially, the role I am supposed to be doing has changed entirely to one that I'm not good at. She used this as a way to suggest extending my probation while she creates a new role for me that's more fitting, as I don't have the networking skills she was looking for. I was visibly upset, and she left me for a minute. But just before she left, she said, "You need to think long and hard about if you want this job, because right now you're not performing well enough to keep it." I sat there for about 20 minutes, alone in a side room near our office. Thoughts went through my head, doubting myself, worrying about losing the apartment I bought just 6 months ago if I lost this job, worrying what my family would think, and just generally how I deal with what I felt like was an inevitability. I tried my best with everything I did, and she still wasn't happy. So I thought about what she said. Do I want this job? No. So that night I signed up with all the local job agencies. I frequently checked job sites, and all the time I was at work, I acted like she'd help me see my errors and that I was working on them to prove myself to her. But actually I hated her guts and couldn't stand being in the same room as her. I hadn't taken any of my annual leave days, as I had no money after spending all my savings on my apartment, so I didn't see the point in taking time off to sit around. She nagged me about this constantly, saying I'd lose it if it wasn't taken, blah blah blah. Like I didn't already know how holidays work. So I booked a big block of 3 weeks at the end of May, as we had family coming to visit. About 2 months later, I booked a couple of days of holiday to attend an interview. Obviously, I just told her I fancied a long weekend. I got the job. Not only was it more engaging and relevant to my area of expertise, but it was a tasty 7k pay rise with a bonus scheme up to 25% annually. I come back in on Monday, ready to hand my notice in, but she's booked a meeting with me while I was off at 10 AM to discuss my new role. I have my notice in an envelope and bring that to the meeting. She starts pretty much saying, "You've gotten a bit better, but still not good enough for this job, so I'd like to propose." I cut her off and hand her the envelope. She opens it, reads it, and says, "Oh, okay, She says, "Okay, well, your notice period is a month, so your final day will be the 8th of June. I counter with, "Actually, I think you'll find that while on my probation period, it's actually only 2 weeks. This brings it to the 25th of May, which is also a public holiday, as is the 24th, so my last day is actually the 23rd of May. She tries to say I'd passed probation, but I remind her of the letter I signed agreeing to the extension and that I hadn't signed any contract for this new role yet. A bit of back and forth, and she finally concedes. I also remind her that I had almost the entirety of my annual leave, which has to be paid to me when I leave, as my finish date was before they were to be taken. As the school was going through a big cost-saving exercise, this would look really bad on her. She asked me to take them instead of working my notice, which I declined. I'd rather tolerate her for 8 more days and get paid a full month's pay on top of my normal salary. She reluctantly agreed and said she's going to talk to HR and let them know. On the way out of the meeting, I thanked her for helping me out in January. She looked at me confused, so I reminded her that I needed to think long and hard about whether I wanted this job. I decided that no, I didn't, and found a much better package elsewhere. Now I have my own office complete with a coffee machine and mini fridge, staff who work with me on projects, and time to work on Azure features like I'm supposed to. All while getting paid considerably more. She got the boot 3 months after I left. Apparently she clashed with a lot of the teaching staff with her management style. Guess I wasn't the only one who didn't get on with her. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.